talk show in Vegas.
You think we're fighting, and I think we're finally talking.
Talking with those on the right, the left, and everywhere in between.
Quiet. Shut up and let me answer, okay?
Answer.
Pot him down, please, because this is another MAGA who doesn't understand how to have a conversation with somebody.
It's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
I'm kind of a big deal.
This show will make you laugh, make you cry, and it might raise Brian's blood pressure.
You know what, dude? People like you, all you do is make excuses for the orange turd, and I've had it.
All the smash and grabs and everything. Yeah, tell me, what race is doing that, first of all?
Okay, so you want to be a racist now. Okay.
Race is doing it. Seen it on the news?
I don't watch Klan TV like you do, sir.
Buckle up, because it's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
You're different. I like you.
Now, here's Brian.
Well, what's up, everybody? Hope everyone had a good weekend. I know I did. Happy Monday. A lot to get to today, and I appreciate all of you tuning in. You could be watching on the Occupy Democrats Network, could be on the FMAM dial, KSHP, the World Wide Web, of course, on X, YouTube, TikTok. We are everywhere. And, of course, my website, pushingthelimits.live, my personal YouTube page, at PTL Radio Show. We had Kamala Harris. I spent a few moments with her. We had Harris here in town, of course, with the vice presidential nominee. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that rally here in the first segment, what I saw, my experiences. A lot to get to today. It seems like almost every top musician of the last century is suing Donald Trump or threatening to. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on the show. The former Republican chair in the great state of Nevada, Amy Tarkanian, is going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, I want to get her take on the rally, very loud and very joyous rally, which we're going to talk about, that took place over the weekend here in Vegas. So there's a lot to get to today. There's a lot to talk about. But I want to start the show today, just my personal experiences with all of you. First of all, I had dozens of people coming up to me at the rally, and I'm so humbled by that. And it's weird because, you know, in radio, I haven't really done any video until the last couple years, because radio's changing, so people, for the most part, didn't know what I looked like. So I wasn't used to that. You know, people coming up to me saying, I love the show. So I love all you guys, and I appreciate all of you. That was very humbling and a lot of fun to meet some of you. So I got to the rally around 3:30. I had a lot of text message and a lot of phone calls from people saying, hey, Brian, come to the rally with me. I'm going to the rally. And, you know, if I responded to you, my response was probably, well, I'm working. I'm not there just to have fun. I'm there to, you know, get some video, some audio, and work. But I knew a lot of people that went to the rally as well. So I get there around 3:30, and I already had people texting me saying they were waiting outside till since 12:30, 1 o'clock. A couple things on that. Number one, it was like 110 degrees outside, extremely uncomfortable on Saturday. But the Harris campaign did something that the Trump campaign seems to never do, because I've been to some Trump rallies as well. They didn't provide water. They don't provide food. I'm going to tell you, the Harris campaign was great. They provided pizza for people out there that were waiting in line. They provided Gatorades and water. There was shade. And I said, okay, well, they're prepared and they're taking care of people. And I thought that was really nice. The line was extremely enormous. I have video of it. People waiting out there for a long time to get into the Thomas and Mack Center, of course, for security purposes. So I get into the arena around 3:30, 4 o'clock, and the first thing I noticed was at least half the arena was full hours before Harris took the stage. So that was a really good sign. They had a DJ playing really good music. Now, if you go to a Trump rally, you'll hear a lot of trash from Ted Nugent to Kid Rock and to failed rappers. Not the case here. With the DJ that was kind of entertaining people before people started to talk. The music was really good. The vibes were great. And speaking of music, we'll get into this maybe a little bit later. There are a plethora of musicians and their families that are either suing or threatening to sue Donald Trump for him playing their music at his rallies, because they all hate him just like I do. So that was fun to see people dancing to the music with the Waltz Harris signs. That was a lot of fun. There were flags, and it was really cool. So I put my phone up, and I took some videos, of course, and I took a video of the supporters just being joyful, smiling, having a good time. You know, there were no shirts that said F Donald Trump. There was no hatred. There was no bigotry. It was an extremely diverse crowd. And let me tell you something. It was nice to be around a bunch of decent, normal human beings. These people were normal, decent, hardworking people. Now, some of you MAGA, Brian, you're saying the people that go to Trump rallies aren't hardworking? Here's what I am saying. The Trump rallies that I have gone to, there's a lot of bigotry. There's a lot of hatred. It's 99.9% white, which is why I call it a Klan cult. They're selling and hawking things. There was nobody hawking anything. There were people, there was maybe, I think, 1 or 2 stands I saw just selling shirts. That was it, normal shirts. They weren't selling Bibles. They weren't selling gold sneakers. They weren't selling Trump condoms. They weren't doing any of that stuff. They were just very affordable $20 campaign shirts. That was it. And there were only a couple people that were doing so to raise money for the Harris campaign. That was it. There were people in there that were joyous. They were having fun, and it was extremely diverse. All sorts of different shades of the crayon box were there. Sure, there were white people there too, but there were people of all ages there. There were college students there. I spoke to some of them that went to UNLV, and there were, people that were, 70s and 80s as well, and a lot of in between. It was a very, very diverse crowd, and I saw it firsthand, and I'm not lying. And let me tell you something. It was almost to capacity. There were maybe 1,000 seats that were empty, and what happened is they closed the doors when the rally began, and they wouldn't let anybody else in. It was jam-packed in there. 19,000 people it holds. I would be willing to bet there were certainly 100%, at least 15,000 people there. And if you had told me that 15,000 people would be showing up to a Democratic rally running against Donald Trump back in the days when Joe Biden was still there, and all due respect to Joe Biden, I would not have believed you. Over 15,000 people at an event in Las Vegas to listen to Kamala Harris speak was incredible. It was a great crowd. I was there. There wasn't anything AI-generated photos or anything. I took the video myself. It was almost to capacity, and it would have been to capacity if they didn't shut the doors. So it was a great crowd. It was a joyous crowd. It was fun. It was nice to meet some of the listeners. Normal people there. There weren't cultists there. Yeah, there were some people, a lot of people with signs that they were giving out. There weren't any cultists there, right? There wasn't any bigotry there. Yeah, there's a lot of people in that arena over the weekend, like myself, that despise Donald Trump, rightfully so. But we didn't show up with our F Donald Trump signs like they showed up with their Let's Go Brandon signs and everything else. There wasn't any bigotry. And nobody got kicked out either. There weren't any protesters. There were a few people in the arena that fainted that got medical attention. There weren't any protesters. There wasn't anybody there causing any disturbances. Just good, hardworking people in Las Vegas that showed up to this rally that were there because they were excited, they were happy, and they liked the message. And that's the way it should be. So for all you Trumpers out there that want to lie, that say the crowd, it was half full, that's a lie, or you want to say the energy was low, that's a lie, wrong. And I had some brief interaction with Kamala Harris. So that's another thing I noticed about her, and I'm going to talk about what I took away from this rally. One of the things I took away is how Kamala she's got a good heart. You could see that. She's a good person. Yeah, I have some criticisms, but I noticed how she took the time to speak with people as she walked off the stage. She didn't have to do that. She could have just walked right backstage and left. She didn't do that. Her and Waltz took pictures with selfies with people, signed autographs, and I noticed every single time she was speaking to a young child, she would give that child a hug, and she would talk to them. I just thought that was really special and nice. One thing I noticed about Tim Waltz is he's got quite the sense of humor. Like, he's got a personality. He's not used to reading a teleprompter. He's an off-the-cuff guy, very different than Kamala Harris, but they need that. And that's what I came away from that rally most, what I came away from it, besides the crowd size and how nice people were and the decency of people that went to this rally, was Waltz and his personality. Really does a good job. And I know, he doesn't like reading from a teleprompter. They tell him to, but he doesn't have to. What a personality, and really funny guy, and he really got the crowd going. So that's really what I took away from that. Listen, Harris had a good speech. She's not really off the cuff like Waltz is, but she had a good speech. And then after the speech, she's taken some pictures with people, and I had a few seconds with her. I mean, there's so many questions I'd want to ask her, but I had a few seconds with her. I looked at her, and I said, "You better win," because if she doesn't, we're in trouble. And she gave me a high five, and I have video of that, and I posted it on my social media account. I said, "You better win," and she looks at me, and she goes, "We will win." So that was it. I just had a few moments with her, and I'm glad I went. It was a lot of fun, good people, good atmosphere, good music, the word joy, I hear a lot. The crowd size was really good, and it was a fun event. And I don't go to a lot of political events. I really don't. I didn't go to really any Joe Biden events. I went to a few Obama events. When Hillary Clinton was running for president, I was a member of the media as a reporter. I went to cover it. But I'm not really one that gets really too excited going to political rallies and political events. I was excited for this one, and I had a really good time, and it was a lot of fun. I think one of the highlights, by the way, of the rally, it was a pretty funny one-liner, and there were a lot of highlights, and I could play you more. But Dina Titus, Congresswoman Dina Titus, has done this show before. She's a really nice lady, and she's got that accent, and she's got a fun sense of humor. She was going after J.D. Vance, as a lot of people were that took the stage. Listen to what Dina Titus had to say about J.D. Vance.
Oh, J.D. Vance apologized to my cat, but he didn't ever apologize to me for what he had to say. So I got a word for J.D. Vance. You better hide behind that sofa because we're coming for you.
That's funny. There were a lot of funny lines like that. Jackie Rosen got up there and spoke. Stephen Horsford got up there and spoke. And it was a lot of the same points that they make, which is, talking about democracy and the hatred coming from the Trump J.D. Vance campaign. Have you seen the Truth Social account of Donald Trump? He's been losing it with these crowd sizes that Harris has had. He has been losing it by the day, if he hasn't already. So I have some opinions on what some would call a controversy. And while maybe I wouldn't have put the taxing of tips or the lack of not wanting to tax tips in Harris's speech, I'll be honest with you, I probably wouldn't have put it in here. Let me play the clip for you first, and then I'll give you my opinions on it, because I think I have a different take than a lot of people on this. This is what Harris had to say about, not taxing tips, which Donald Trump mentioned a couple months ago when he came to Vegas.
And eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Okay, so a couple things on this. First of all, I would not have put that in the speech because you knew that MAGA was going to say, oh, she's stealing the ideas from Donald Trump. But here is a fundamental difference between Democrats and Republicans. And then I'll get to the policy. If Democrats in their heart believe that an idea can help Americans, they will vote for it. They will talk about it. And it doesn't matter whether somebody with an R next to their name came up with the idea. I don't see anything wrong with Democrats doing that, but Republicans rarely do it. If Democrats come up with something that can help the country, Republicans will usually, for lack of a better term, shoot it down because it came from Democrats. When you look at the bipartisan border bill, it was Donald Trump that picked up the phone with his little Trump fingers and said, don't vote on this bill unless it's perfect. And the only reason why he did that is because he was thinking for himself. Democrats are thinking about the country. Now, I'm not so sure this is a good policy. Why do I say that? Well, let me give you an example. Just Las Vegas. Let's just say a stripper is making $200,000 a year on tips. Now, she's not going to be taxed on any of those tips, but yet somebody working at Target making $8 an hour should be taxed on that. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but that's not fair. I think it has to be a case-by-case basis in what industry you're in. If you're a waiter or a waitress and you're making $5 an hour, then yeah, I'm okay with not taxing those people on tips. If you're a waiter or a waitress working at the most expensive steakhouse in Las Vegas, making, six figures in tips, yes, I think you should be taxed on that. And what do we do about the people that are making $8, $9 an hour that are struggling to get by? They're the ones that are going to be taxed. So in my personal opinion, I don't think you should be taxed if you're making under $15 an hour. That's my personal opinion. I don't think you should. I don't think you should be taxed on that. I think there are better ways to help, those that are living paycheck to paycheck in middle class America than just a blatant, we're not going to tax people on tips. So I don't necessarily agree with this policy. I don't care whether Donald Trump is the first guy to think about it. Here's what I will say. When Kamala Harris talks about this, I believe that she would actually try to pass something. When Donald Trump talks about something, it's because he's pandering to try to get votes. What do you mean, Brian? Well, Donald Trump was president of the United States. Why didn't he do this? If this is his idea, why didn't he do it when he was first elected into office? Can somebody answer that for me? He claims, and he tells a story, by the way, that I don't believe, that he was here in Las Vegas eating at a restaurant, and a waitress came up with the idea. I don't believe that. I really don't. I don't believe anything Donald Trump says. So a fundamental difference is Democrats don't care, and I don't believe Kamala Harris really cares who comes up with an idea so long as she thinks it'll help Americans. A fundamental difference between Republicans and Democrats. Let's just go with worst case scenario, where for once the MAGA right are correct. Let's just say that Harris took this idea from Donald Trump. And by the way, I'm not sure if that's even true, but let's just say allegedly that that's true. So what? In Harris's heart, she probably believes that this could help Americans. So why is that a bad thing? Why are you attacking her for that? God forbid if the Democrats come up with something that even Republicans think could help the country, they're not going to vote on it, like comprehensive gun reform, because they care more about their A-plus rating from the NRA than doing the right thing. Or Obamacare. How many people are still bitching and complaining about Obamacare? How many people are still complaining about that? Oh, well, we have the replacement plan. We're going to come up for it in 2 weeks. We're going to come up with it in 2 weeks. No, that replacement plan never happened. The replacement plan never happened. So I don't see anything wrong if a Democrat believes that a policy idea that a Republican came up with could actually help the country. I don't see anything wrong with it. Would I have put that in the speech? Probably not. You knew you'd be attacked. But she had to have known that. The people who wrote that speech had to have known that. If she feels like this is a good thing for the country, and I believe she cares about the country and she cares about, those that are struggling in the middle class, then she wants to talk about it, then let her talk about it. It's not necessarily something that I would do. It's not necessarily something that I think will help her campaign, but I respect the fact that she's willing to say, okay, I think this could be a good idea and it could help Americans. I don't see anything wrong with that at all. And meanwhile, while you have, Harris and Democrats that are talking about policy and how the country moves forward, then you have Leo Terrell 2.0. Why do they call Leo Terrell 2.0? He used to do my show all the time because he decided to flip to being a Republican so that he could get more airtime on Fox News because he's a phony, just like the Larry Elders and the Candace Owens and the Charlie Kirks and all these idiots out there that say things on social media and do things so they can get clicks. Now, I never believed Leo Terrell was a very intelligent person, and I never will. But Leo Terrell put out a video on social media, and he goes to McDonald's, and it's a video of Leo Terrell, who had just bought French fries at McDonald's. And he's trying to say Kamala Harris is the reason why the fries at McDonald's are over $5. Have a listen to this.
The price that I paid for just one order of fries at McDonald's. Here it is, one order of large fries, $4.89. They charged me 10 cents for a bag, and with tax, it came to $5.46. At McDonald's, one order of large fries, $5.46. This is the Harris inflation. And I'll tell you right now, you have to be a fool to vote for Kamala Harris.
Well, let me tell you something. You have to be a fool if you listen to anything Leo Terrell says with any credence whatsoever. He's an idiot. But you see, if you post stuff like that, which makes absolutely no sense, Harris is not responsible for McDonald's charging over $5 for French fries. But if you put out videos like that, Fox News loves it. He knows that's how he keeps his job and gets another contract as a contributor. He wasn't a paid contributor when he was a Democrat, but then all of a sudden he flips to Republican because he knows it'll help his social media and it'll make him more popular and he'll be able to get more appearances on Fox News. And he was right. It worked because the listeners of Fox News, so many of them were stupid. They think that Leo Terrell actually changed, that he just flipped, just like J.D. Vance flipped when he said he believed that Donald Trump was the next Adolf Hitler. We'll get more to J.D. Vance in a moment. Him dressing in drag are photos circulating on social media. I think he's trying out for the next Cat Lady the Musical play. I don't know. By the way, why is it that so many Republicans, MAGA Republicans, that are so anti-gay and so anti-transgender are usually the ones that we find dressing in drag, like the George Santoses of the world? Don't you find that kind of interesting? I find that kind of interesting. Anybody who takes any, and I'm going to play you one more clip here before I go to break, and then coming back, we're going to be joined by the former Republican chair, Amy Tarkanian here of Nevada, coming up here in just a few minutes. But a clip that has made the rounds, and some people are saying that Donald Trump called her an effing bitch in regards to Kamala Harris. I don't know whether he called her a bitch, but he did swear. He's sitting on a golf cart, and it's a private video that's circulating online over the weekend. He's sitting there with his teenage son, Barron, and he's throwing vulgarities at the vice president. You know, what type of kid is Barron going to grow up to be? You know, what a great father figure you are. This is the clip that made the rounds on social media, and I don't even know why Donald Trump is out of breath, by the way. He's sitting in a cart. It's really weird. The guy can barely talk. But this is the video that that made the rounds, audio of Donald Trump throwing vulgarities at our vice president. Have a listen to this.
How did I do with the debate the other night?
Oh, amazing.
Kicked that old broken down pile of crap.
Yeah.
It's a bad guy. He just quit, you know. He's quitting the race. Is that right? Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. She's so pathetic. It's so amazing. It's just so bad. So I just can't imagine. But can you imagine that guy with dealing with Putin?
So pathetic. She's so pathetic. No, Mr. Cheeto Jesus, she's not pathetic. You are pathetic. You wake up in the morning, you put up your 5 layers of orange makeup with your 5 hair transplants and your obese body because you look like a pig. You show up on the golf course, obviously campaigning really hard, playing golf every day. All you do is attack people and call them names. You're full of lies. Every single time you speak, you're lying and deceiving people because you're a snake. And you're a liar. And all you do is gloat, and you don't care about the American people. The only person you care about is yourself. You are pathetic. You can say what you want about Harris's record. You could say what you want about policies that you may or may not disagree with. That's fair game. Fine. That's politics. This is a woman who has a quality education, who worked hard to get to where she is today. I know a lot of you right-wing turds out there want to make claims that she slept her way to the top, which are absurd and ridiculous and factually inaccurate. This is a woman who went to law school, passed the bar, became a prosecutor, and then was elected twice in San Francisco in a position that not many attorneys will ever get the opportunity to get. And then she became the vice president of the United States as a woman of color, which I find to be a milestone, because it is a milestone. There's nothing pathetic about that resume. She is qualified to be president or vice president, and she's proven that. You don't like some of her policies, fine, but the attacks on the far right and Donald Trump going after her blackness or their lack thereof, questioning the race, questioning how black Kamala Harris is, going after the service of her vice presidential nominee who served this country for 24 years because he might have misspoke once, years of being a politician, years, and he might have misspoke once, but all of a sudden J.D. Vance and the MAGA right want to say stolen valor, and they want to attack him when it's actually Donald Trump who said, I don't respect him because he was captured, and talking about John McCain, calling them suckers and losers, gloating about putting together John McCain's funeral, attacking Colin Powell just days after he died, attacking our brave men in uniform, not even going to Arlington Cemetery because it was raining, the man who dodged the military multiple times, claiming bone spurs, which we know was a lie. But yet you want to attack this guy, Waltz, for a remark where he misspoke once on video? Once. How dare you? How dare you, right-wing MAGA turds? How dare you? And yet you support the 34-count felon? You support the liable sexual abusing rapist? And you want to talk about telling the truth? That's what you want to do? You all are pathetic. And you're a disgrace. And the whole Swift boat thing, John Kerry had to deal with that years ago because you MAGA Republicans have nothing better to do than to attack somebody's service to this country the way Donald Trump has. Oh, I've always wanted to get the Purple Heart. I guess this is the way to do it. Donald Trump is the opposite of a hero. He's a coward. And I'm sorry that somebody attempted to kill him. I'm sorry that he had a little boo-boo on his earlobe. But he is no hero. None. He's the opposite of a hero. John McCain was a hero. He risked his life for this country. Those who serve honorably are heroes. And Waltz served honorably. He is a hero. Donald Trump is the one who dodged the military, who's never fought for anybody but himself. And it continues, and he shows it every single day. Well, I saw Harris on that stage over the weekend in Vegas, and I saw a crowd that was ready. I saw a crowd that was energized. I saw a crowd that was joyful. Nothing but smiles in that crowd. There was no bigotry. There was no hatred. There were no Trump Bibles. Nobody was selling gold sneakers for $500 or gold heels. It was about joy. It was about the future, and the message was positive. And everything you hear out of the MAGA world is negative and insults, calling her stupid. It is a fine line difference between the two campaigns, and there are many differences, and it's why I believe Kamala Harris is going to be the next president of the United States. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, the former Republican chair of Nevada, who was once a staunch Donald Trump supporter, she has changed her tune. I'm going to talk to her coming up next. Of course, I'm talking about Amy Tarkanian. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. And in the next segment, we will be taking phone calls as well. So stay tuned for that at 702-221-7283. Take a quick break. Be back in 2 minutes. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSH. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for joining us on a very busy Monday. I get a lot of people every day that send me emails and talk about how much they enjoy the show. I appreciate all of you very much. We are an independently owned show. So what does that mean? Well, if you want to get involved and support what we do, the best thing you can do is start by going to our website, which is pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live, where you can see we're selling a bunch of merchandise, some cool stuff, shirts, mugs, very affordable prices. And if you don't want to do that, there's a donate button there on the front page and of the website, and you for me personally. We appreciate anything you can do. $5, $10, $20, whatever you can afford, and we appreciate it. So check it out, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that's pushingthelimits.live. All right. The lady we have with us on the show, right, she used to be a very staunch Donald Trump supporter. She also used to be the Nevada chairwoman of the Republican Party here in the great state of Nevada. Of course, I'm talking about Amy Tarkanian, who's nice enough to join us right now on the show. Amy, it's good to see you. How are you?
I'm great. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for coming on, Amy, as always. What was your first reaction of what took place over the weekend here in Las Vegas with the Harris Waltz campaign? What did you make of it?
Well, I think it's a PR and comms team dream. You are seeing basically, and I know that some Republicans are calling it like the Obama 2.0, but it truly is. It's choreographed extremely well. It's smart strategy, whether if you agree with it or not. I think the fact that, she comes out to a very popular music artist, a very upbeat song, Freedom by Beyonce, that kicks it all off. And then she has a very positive outlook. Once again, whether if you agree with the policies or not, it all seems to be packaged up in a way where it makes a person feel good about where they're at and about the future, as opposed to Donald Trump's grievances and anger and frustration.
I agree. Well said. Let's talk a little bit about that. In the last couple of weeks, of course, all the J.D. Vance comments about women being cat ladies, he doubled down on that, even though those comments were years ago. His excuses, it was a sarcastic comment, but then he doubles down on it. So that doesn't make any sense. And then, people that don't have kids, he talks, really in a negative fashion about them. And then you have Donald Trump and some on the MAGA right that are questioning whether Kamala Harris is black. Yeah. You saw the video that came out about Trump using expletives, talking about Harris when his son is sitting right next to him. I mean, just the stolen valor stuff about Waltz to me is even the most serious, to be honest with you. Sure. I just think it's so despicable. From your perspective as a lifelong Republican and somebody who once supported Donald Trump, what do you make of these attacks? Not even necessarily from the campaign standpoint, because I think we both would agree it's a mistake. Just from a personal standpoint, what do you make of this stuff?
Well, I've distanced myself for a reason. When I started to see that he continued to surround himself with grifters and people that were spreading disinformation, not just misinformation, but intentional disinformation. And then January 6th took place. I was done. I was out. I couldn't do it anymore. And I know that politics is a game. It's a sport. But this was now below the belt, and it just continues to go down that unfortunate route. And so when you're seeing these attacks, like you just mentioned, I mean, the childless cat ladies.
It is childish.
Well, yes, that's true. So I guess I meant to say that. But then he said that they were sociopaths. Right. if you felt, that you were in that category, that's a little over the top. And actually, you said that those comments were made years ago. They really weren't made that long ago. So it's not like he's somebody who has maybe evolved over time on thought process. This is a man, J.D. Vance, who is an opportunist. He truly just says whatever works best for him in that moment and whatever is going to move him up the ladder the quickest. And that's why you see him changing so quickly his tune from how do you go from saying that, Donald Trump was once America's Hitler to now praising him like he's, the answer to everything in life? It doesn't make any sense except for the fact that you're an opportunist. Nobody is perfect. So for him to make that large of a swing, dramatic of a swing, is questionable. And then the fact that you mentioned where, Donald Trump is now questioning Kamala's ethnicity, and saying that, she was Indian, then all of a sudden she turned black. Newsflash, I was even having this conversation with my son. I said, what would you say you are if you are from Ireland, if you're from Germany, if you're from England? He goes, white. Okay. What would you say if you're from Jamaica, if you're from the Bahamas, if you're from Africa? Black. Okay. So she's Indian and she's black.
Yeah, she's biracial.
I think most of us are in America, right? Yeah. It's a melting pot.
Right.
I mean, I'm pretty much everything but black and Asian. So, I mean, what do I say? Except for the fact I'm white. I look white. So that's just what I say.
But this is what Donald Trump does. This is
even
what he
though
does.
I have Mexican and Spanish heritage, I
Right.
look white, plain and simple. So,
And this is, you're right. And
it's disgusting and it's unfortunate and it's hurting him. So instead of focusing on compare and contrast of the issues, we're now talking about things like this, which has nothing to do with your pocketbook, my pocketbook, your safety, my safety. It's asinine childishness, as I already said, it was childish, that we're now discussing, which is not important.
Right. I want to get your take on this, because Harris has been criticized from the right for stealing Donald Trump's idea about no tax on tips, right? So here's my take on this. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that policy, okay? And the reason why I don't agree with it, because you got people making $8, $9 an hour working at Target. Okay, so if a stripper's getting $200,000 a year in tips, what, you don't tax her on that? I think it's very unfair, and I think I want to hear more specifics. But with that being said, this is a fundamental difference, I think, between both parties right now, where if the Republicans, it's rare these days, in my opinion, but if they come up with something that Democrats think can help the country, they'll vote for it. They'll talk about it. And Harris had to know that she was going to be criticized for bringing that up. She had to know that. But maybe she brought it up because she thinks it could help. She thinks it could help the country, whether it's Donald Trump's idea or not. Who the F cares? If she believes in her heart that it's something that, and I don't feel like Republicans will do that. And then we had that bipartisan border bill, and I know it wasn't.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you hear where I'm going with this, Amy? It's like,
I do.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like, and I think you said it earlier, you touched on it earlier, where if Donald Trump truly felt that this was a good policy, why didn't he bring it up when he was president? Because now I feel like he's pandering. Right. And so, you know what? Is it a good idea? Very well could be. I would need to also, go do a little bit more research and break it down like what you're saying. Great. If Kamala thinks it's a wonderful idea, then the two of them are running on something that a lot of people could agree on. I think that's healthy. I think that's wonderful.
But why are they saying she stole the idea? She never said it was her idea. Hey, now if she went up on that stage, Amy, and she said, hey, I was thinking this morning and I was talking with my team, we came up with a great idea.
Right.
Okay. She didn't do that. She just talked about, what Trump talked about. She's not stealing anything. There's no such thing as stealing it. She just brought it up. What's wrong with that? She's not stealing anything.
There's nothing wrong with that. And what is the saying? What is it about when you're copying somebody, it's a form of flattery? Or, I mean, why not just say, hey, Kamala, thanks for agreeing. This is wonderful. Let's help America. And then move on and go and compare and contrast a bunch of other things. Right.
He's incapable of doing that. Absolutely incapable of doing so. If you're just joining us, we are talking with Amy Tarkanian, the former Republican chairwoman in the great state of Nevada. So moving forward now, Amy, we've talked about this before. I know you were never big on Joe Biden, but from what I'm hearing from you, it sounds like you're a little bit more inclined to maybe, and I'm saying maybe support Harris. Where are you at right now compared to where you were at a month ago? I guess that's my question.
I'm still floating on a raft all by myself looking for some land. Okay. But I will tell you, I mean, you know that I tell it like it is. And I will say that the feel, if the election were held today, it would be Harris. And we also saw there's an article that came out today where, once again, we're Nevadans, we like to place bets. And there's a number of betting companies that are now showing that Harris is the one to win. Not to say that that's going to be, the end all be all, but it is telling. And I think the fact, once again, the Harris campaign, and this is a strategy, they did Biden basement, that way they kept him from talking to the media as much as possible. They're very smartly keeping her in a teleprompter, keeping her in full arenas, filled with excited people waiting to hear her message. She's not veering off of message, which I think that's why they're keeping her in this scenario. And it's smart because we saw the other day when Donald Trump called for a press conference, he rambled. He rambled the entire time instead of staying on message. And it got lost. It got completely lost.
Let's talk about that. Amy, you bring up such a good point. Let's talk about that, because while I believe that Harris, she's going to have to do some interviews, I would tell her, do some opposition. Don't make the same mistake that Hillary made. Eventually, she's going to have to do it. But I would rather have her not doing press conferences than have to watch the press conference that Donald Trump did. So in that short period of time, yeah, I mean, in that short period of time alone, he attacked Jewish people. He said they need their head examined if they don't vote for him. He said 75% of the country are his supporters when he lost the popular vote in 2016 and 2020. He said that most people think that abortion should be banned and agreed with overturning Roe versus Wade, when we know in just about every poll, 60% of Americans do not. I mean, the lies. So, I mean, it's like MAGA want to brag about how he's doing press conferences. That wasn't a press conference. He got up out of bed. He went into the Mar-a-Lago lobby and mumbled, as you said, and lied for 45 minutes. I mean, we're supposed to turn that into a positive, Amy?
Yeah, no, it was bad. I mean, there's just no other way to describe that. And if you're going to say otherwise, then you're delusional, or you're spewing talking points, and you're just not being honest with yourself and others. It was bad. And I would much rather have somebody who is going to be on a teleprompter at this point. So that way I know exactly what is the message. Where are you going to take us? Quit veering off and talking about grievances and nonsensical things that have nothing to do with my pocketbook and my safety. I don't care about why you think Kamala Harris is, what did he call her? He said that she was dumb as rocks. I mean, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And yes, he does like to address the media, which is wonderful, but he needs to stay on message. And then, no, he has the toughest time. And then Kamala, yes, she's going to have to step out of her comfort zone, and she's going to have to do a much better job at addressing the media and with improv, because improv is her weakest area. And I don't think it's necessarily, she's not dumb.
No.
I mean, she's not dumb at all, but some people do struggle in that area. And I've seen it over and over and over again with a number of candidates who, I know exactly what their stances are and what they believe, but they just have a little bit more difficult time when they're being put on spot. And I don't know if that's her scenario or not, but I also think that her laughter, which Trump likes to attack, and I think she's going to have to work on that and kind of hone it in. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to be, happy and joyful, but I think that it's a nervous laughter at times.
Yeah,
and so it's something she's going to have to work through.
You're right. But I've heard, opposition, even saying, we need Donald Trump to smile because, Harris, and Trump is not capable of smiling. Even some of his family members, the guy never smiles.
Yeah.
I'll say this, when you see Harris, even sportscaster and nationally syndicated host Colin Cowherd, who I have a lot of respect for, he doesn't talk much politics, but when he does, I listen. And he said, listen, I was watching Harris over the weekend, and I'm kind of paraphrasing what he said. And he said, it was joy. She was laughing. Yeah. People were smiling around her. It was a positive message. And then I see this guy, Donald Trump, the other guy, and he's not smiling, and it's all about hatred and bigotry. And it's like, when I go to the park, I like seeing people having fun, people playing volleyball, and people walking their dogs, and everyone's having fun. When I see a Harris rally, I get the same vibe. People are smiling, they're having a good time. And these Trumpers, man, it's just there's so much hatred in their heart.
Well, remember when President Biden was first put into office, he had the red backdrop when he gave his speech, and everyone was saying, "Oh, this sounds like doom and gloom." It didn't feel like hope, right? It felt you didn't feel a warm and fuzzy. You didn't feel good. And I know feelings are not the reason why you should vote for somebody, but perception is reality in politics. And you can sit there and talk about policy all day, every day, but the average voter isn't going to take the time to do as much research as, say, you or I, who are, political nerds, right? Yep. So it is important with the way that people are left, how they feel. Do they feel like you're going to take care of their family? Do they feel confident? Do they feel like you care? Do they feel like you're relatable? And you mentioned the word joy, and joy is an extremely important, descriptive word, especially in a time where people are feeling hopeless, right? So, I think it was smart on her campaign to capitalize even on the word freedom. You know,
Right.
so you have freedom, you have joy. These are all extremely positive. And
Sure.
so now that, you know, if you're hearing that you're a sociopath on the other side for not having a child, or, you know, that maybe you're supposed to stay in a loveless marriage that's possibly violent because you have children. That's something else that JD Vance also had a discussion on that he hasn't backpedaled or corrected.
Yeah.
How would you as a voter actually feel at the end of the day?
Amazing.
When it comes time to cast your vote.
I don't understand the strategy. The last several weeks, they've attacked women. They've attacked Americans that don't have kids. They've attacked immigrants. They've attacked the blackness of, or lack thereof, they think, of Kamala Harris. I mean, in my opinion, they're just, in a way, verbally disenfranchising voters. It's almost like they're trying to lose. Like, I just don't understand their strategy at all.
Well, and not only that, but then now you're seeing too, if heaven forbid, and we know that I was, you know, a part of this victimhood, if that's what you want to call it. I'm quite happy not being a part of this current Republican Party, since I was removed for questioning, you know, some of the candidates and not agreeing with some of the candidates because of whatever reason, you know, whether if it had to do with racist comments that came out of their mouths, or knowing that there was going to be financial problems that the FBI was looking into. I was very vocal and did a split ticket. And so because of that, we're still seeing it. So you had a podcaster, Joe Rogan, who, heaven forbid, put out a very positive comment just saying how he agreed with Robert Kennedy Jr. on something. And Trump lost it, completely lost it, and attacked him on Truth Social. And he continues to do that with others who just put out positive statements that maybe have nothing to do with him. And so we're still seeing this subtraction in the Republican Party and this bullying that's taking place. And it's coming from the top and it's trickled all the way down to the state and county parties. And so I don't see, once again, strategy-wise, how do you plan on winning by removing and disenfranchising Republicans, number one? Number two, how do you think that is actually appealing to nonpartisans and independents that they need to pull over and stop Democrats? It's not going to work, and they're hurting themselves.
Agree. Last question well, maybe two more quick questions. The first one being former, well, I guess I shouldn't say former, she's still a huge MAGA supporter, and now she's facing felony counts, Michelle Fiore. Word got out that even our Republican governor, Joe Lombardo, may have been defrauded because at one time he donated money to Michelle Fiore. What do you make?
$5,000.
Yeah, $5,000. In my opinion, I don't feel bad for anybody that would donate any money to Michelle Fiore because she's a disgusting pig, a terrible person. But with that being said, what do you make of this story that now the Republican governor of the state of Nevada may have been defrauded by the MAGA supporting moron, Michelle Fiore?
Well, it's going to be a lengthy list, unfortunately. And, you know, Governor Lombardo was once Sheriff Lombardo. So I could see how he thought this sounded like a really great organization to put his money behind. And it's unfortunate because she did pull a fast one over him and many others. And so, you know, that was one of the candidates that I came out against, and I was reprimanded by the Nevada Republican Party for doing so. But you know what? Democrat State Treasurer Zach Conine is doing an amazing job, and I have no regrets. And I know what I did was the right thing.
Yeah, no question you did the right thing, and Michelle Fiore's in a lot of trouble. All right, last question. I'll sort of put you on the spot here, Amy. You know I like doing this with people.
Same answer.
That's right. But I know, but if Kamala Harris is going to win, and I believe she might well win, and I hope so, she's going to win because of people like you. And even though I lean to the left on a lot of social issues, I'm still an independent, very capable of voting for Republicans, not many these days. But she's going to win because of people like us, moderates.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a lot of time between now and the November elections. We have a very important debate coming up on September 10th. That's going to be very important for both candidates. With that being said, if you had to go to the voter booth today, do you have any idea what you would do? I know you're not voting for Trump. We can cancel that one out.
That's
but
true.
Do you have any idea what you would do at all?
I'm going to write in Brian Shapiro.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. I'd be a terrible president. Don't do that. That would be a terrible vote. I will probably ask you this question again, Amy, next time you come on. But it sounds to me that you're a little bit more positive with the Democrat Party today than you were a month ago. And that's a good thing.
Yes, that's a fair answer. And I would say it's also because I really like the way that they're running the campaign. But once again, you still have to look at the issues. The issues are what matters most. It's not really the way you feel, but I think they're running a really smart campaign.
And that could do it for her. And she could be the first female Black president of the United States. We'll have to wait and see. Amy, I know you've done a lot of great interviews here on the network, so I'll leave you to doing that. And thank you so much for taking the time to join us, and look forward to have you on again soon. Okay. Thank you, Amy.
Thanks, Brian.
Appreciate that. Love having Amy Tarkanian on. I kind of thought I might get that answer, but it sounds to me she's definitely more positive with what the left is doing these days than what the right is doing. Amy Tarkanian, the former Republican chair of the great state of Nevada, joining us on the line. We appreciate her being a part of the show. All right, so here's what we're going to do now. I did promise we'd get to some calls, so why don't we just do that right now? Number to call 702-221-7283. This portion of the program brought to you by Jackson's Bar and Grill. They have a great promotion this month. I was in there the other day. Anybody hits a taxable jackpot, as long as you're actively playing with your card in a slot machine, you're going to get $20 in free slot play within 24 hours. Great lunch, great food, great atmosphere, great promotions. Tell them I sent you. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. All right, let's get right to the phone calls. And let's go to Matthew, who's first up on PTL. Matthew, thanks for calling in. Where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from Citrus Heights. Brian, how are you doing? Citrus Heights, California, right around the Sacramento area.
Thanks for calling in, Matthew. What's on your mind today?
I'm just kind of curious. I kind of had some questions for Amy, but she's off the line, so that's cool.
I can't speak for her, but you can ask me anything.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, if she writes you in for president, I hope she can write me in as VP, Matthew Lujan.
It's going into public life. I mean, I guess I'm in public life, but being a politician is not something that I ever aspired to do. I don't think I would enjoy it. And life is really short, right? You got to do things that you enjoy. While I enjoy talking politics with people like you, I enjoy talking about it on the radio. I don't think I'd want to be a policymaker.
I do. And you know what? This is the first time I've actually been able to talk to somebody on the radio like this. But I've gone on Facebook quite a bit and with a lot of friends. And you know what? What's troubling me is why so many Americans have gone over to that side, are supporting him so vehemently. And this is even worse. Why so many military? I have family in the military that have gone up pretty high in the military, and they're supporting them. They will actually come out and degrade me.
Well, you know what? They should be degraded, quite frankly, because anybody that would call them suckers and losers and say I don't respect him because he was captured, and somebody who dodged the military multiple times, you're voting for a liable rapist. So they're the ones that should be degraded, quite frankly. And I know a lot of people say, boy, we don't really listen to people anymore. We don't really talk. Listen, if people want to have policy discussions with me, I'm happy to do that in a respectful way. But don't you try to convince me that somehow Waltz is this guy who with the stolen valor and Kamala slept her way to the top. Because you start talking like that, I am going to give it to you 10 times harder. Okay, that's why they call these people deplorables, because they are.
This is their only tactics. That's the only way they know how to advance is to break people down.
You're right, and I got too much in the bag. I got too much arsenal for them. So if they want to go with that nonsense, they're going to lose the argument.
But all over the world, Brian, I mean, our European leaders everywhere can see right through this guy. This guy is, moving on. He has no morals, no compass, none of this stuff that we need.
Matthew, you're so right, and I appreciate your call. And if you have an IQ over 20, you know who Donald Trump is. I can tell you I've been to a Trump rally 6-7 weeks ago in Vegas, and I went to the Harris rally. And the people that showed up at these rallies are completely different kinds of people. 99% of the people at the Trump rally I ran to were white. And the diversity, I don't even think 50% of the people in the Thomas and Mack Center over the weekend were white. I mean, there was so much diversity in that arena, which is such a great thing. And there was so much positivity. I go to the Trump rally and I see Confederate flags. I go to the Trump rally. And that's why I said it felt like a Klan cult buying their Bibles and their gold sneakers and the F Joe Biden shirts and the vulgarities on these shirts and signs. It's all over the place. I didn't see one sign like that. Not one of 15,000 people at the Thomas and Mack. Not one shirt and not one sign with any vulgarities on it. It's the difference with the types of people that support Trump and the types of people that support Harris. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Barbara. Barbara's next up on PTL. Hi, Barbara. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from North Dakota, Brian. I've talked to you before.
Thanks for calling in, Barbara.
I just wanted to comment. You were talking about JD Vance earlier, and I just happened to watch a video of the Midas Touch Ben Meiselas, and he did a whole thing about JD Vance on there. And JD Vance used to be gay. And then his grandmother told him that he can't be no more, so he quit. I mean, you can't just shut that off.
Well, listen, and it's important to note, and I think you'll agree with me, Barbara, most people in this country that are not bigots or MAGA supporters don't care what your sexuality is. But the reason why this is important, Barbara, is because JD Vance and many on the far right are the ones that attack the LGBTQ community and attack transgenders. And meanwhile, all these pictures are surfacing of JD Vance dressing in drag.
And there were pictures on there too that he showed, and he was dressed up in drag, and then after he got out of college, and then he went every which way, but that's just crazy though. He said, who was that Shapiro that said that he doesn't even know who he is.
He doesn't know who he is. He seems very confused. And I'll tell you something, Barbara, and thank you, by the way, for the call. I'm glad you brought this up. It seems to me that the people in this country, mainly Republicans, that 24/7 attack the gay community, trans community, and the gay community and drag queens are usually people that are gay themselves and that are afraid to speak it publicly. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. If this is true about JD Vance, it wouldn't surprise me one bit. Let's go to Nelson. Nelson is next on PTL. Thanks, Nelson, for calling in. What's on your mind, my man?
Brian, I think the real chameleon is JD Vance. Mm-hmm. He's the real chameleon. He was one way during college, and he's another way today. Yeah. He called Donald Trump America's Hitler, and now he's saying something else today. And look, and a lot of people said it online, and a lot of people doing podcasts when they're talking about it with those pictures. They said the problem is it's not about him expressing himself of dressing up in drag.
Yeah,
it's about the hypocrisy with all of this. Is that you obviously, it's the hypocrisy. And then today, you want to bash that community. And then not only that, he talked about the Democrats being anti-family, but when the vote came up to expand the child tax credit, he didn't vote.
He didn't even show up.
He didn't vote. He didn't even show up for it.
I gotta tell you something, because after I take a break, we're going to play a little bit of that JD Vance interview with Dana Bash, and I don't know if you agree with me on this. I think Dana Bash is really bad at her job. First of all, if you had like Mehdi Hassan or somebody like that interviewing JD Vance, they wouldn't have let him spew his BS. But for whatever reason, Dana Bash is a softie. Put Jake Tapper in there. Put somebody else in there. But Dana Bash was really soft in that interview, and she just let him walk all over her. And I'm not a Dana Bash fan. And of all the people that did that interview, why would you pick her? Caitlin Collins would have done a better job. There's plenty of other people at CNN.
And Brian,
go ahead.
I want to say something real quick before you go to break, because I know the time goes by really fast.
Yeah,
you made all good points. You know what they're going to say about the interview. Oh, she was too tough on him, so they let him spew all the garbage. When they talk about Governor Waltz, they're making it seem as if, him doing universal free lunch for kids to make sure that they don't go hungry. They make it seem like it's a bad thing, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You want to know what else he did too as governor? For women. I guess in governor, he wanted to do away with taxes for tampon purchases so that women can have access to that
Gosh,
as well.
what a
Not having
horrible,
to pay taxes.
geez, what a horrible
I mean, my God, Brian, he is such an evil man
What an
who
evil
cares
person.
about women
Yeah.
and children. And if you're a parent out there, before I go, I want to say this. Ask yourself this question. If you have a child, which world would you want your child to live in?
Yeah.
A governor who actually cares about children and the welfare and women and children, or somebody else who believes even if a woman or a young American woman's life is at danger, to still bear having a child when their life's at stake, with no exceptions? Which world would you want your child to live
I
in?
think it's
The choice is clear.
I think it's pretty evident to me, my friend, and I appreciate the phone call, Nelson. Thank you so much. You know, it's interesting because remember when Sandra Fluke came out and she testified in front of Congress because she wanted contraception to be covered by her health insurance, and then the cancer himself that ended up getting him, Rush Limbaugh, called her a whore on the air. I feel like it's very similar here. Oh, my God. So they're calling him Tampon Tim because he wanted to pass a bill, you know, to give free tampons to women. And he wanted, you know, in passing a bill, putting tampons in a boy's restroom like that negatively affects anybody. They're so stupid, these people. So they start attacking him for that. Meanwhile, Republicans have no problem an 18-year-old buying a bunch of AR-15s and thousands of rounds of ammunition, and that's totally fine as long as they have their A-plus rating from the NRA. But let's call him Tampon Tim because he wanted to provide free tampons to women. That's who these MAGA Republicans are. We cannot forget that. They're bigots, they're misogynists, they're racists, and they're just really bad people that stand behind and still support a liable sexual abusing rapist, 34-count felon. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be getting to more of your calls. I know we have a lot of people waiting on hold. The lines are busy. Keep trying. We'll get to as many calls as we can. And when we come back, again, J.D. Vance doubling down on attacking Walt's military record, and then he gets a little pushback. Well, wait a second. Didn't Donald Trump dodge the military? Listen to his response to that. We'll get to more of that when we come back. We'll take a quick break. Your phone call's on the other side, so please sit tight. It's Pushing the Limits right here. Nevada Republican chairwoman who was impressed with the message being put forth by the Harris-Waltz campaign. And that's saying something because she used to be a former Donald Trump staunch supporter. And I think a lot of other moderate Republicans are starting to feel the same way. I went to the rally over the weekend here, had a chance to give Harris a high five, and I told her she better win. And her response to me was, we are going to win. I certainly hope she's right on that one, but I certainly like what the campaign has been doing. Quick note for you, the Trump media has reported more big losses, causing the stock price to continue to tank. The company's reported $343 million in losses this year, with only $826,000 in revenue last quarter. Another Trump company heading for bankruptcy, ladies and gentlemen. So I mentioned that J.D. Vance did an interview with Dana Bash, and I'm not a huge Dana Bash fan. I didn't think she did a really good job in this interview. But this is a poignant part of the interview that I want to play for you, because this is when J.D. Vance, again, is asked about questioning Waltz's military record and the stolen valor stuff. And then Bash pushes back a little bit. Have a listen to this.
One last question. Donald Trump didn't serve in the military. He received a medical draft deferment for bone spurs to avoid serving in the Vietnam War, reportedly as a favor to his father. Do you find that shameful, too?
I think that Donald Trump didn't serve in the military, but he didn't lie about it, Dana. I've known Donald Trump for a long time.
You don't
really
think he
honors our
so you
veterans.
think he had
honors me
bone
for
spurs?
my service. Donald Trump didn't lie about serving in the military. He didn't say that he went to Vietnam when he didn't. This is the problem. I don't criticize anybody, whether they served our country or not. I think it's honorable to serve, but obviously a lot of people have reasons for not serving. I criticize somebody for embellishing their record, for lying, saying, I went to war. Dana, do you think that it's a problem that he said, I went to war, but he didn't actually? That seems to be a problem to me.
Well, they've corrected that. Let's move on to...
They've corrected it by admitting that
Let's
he
move
lied.
on.
They have corrected it. He misspoke once. The fact that J.D. Vance wants to say that Donald Trump honors our veterans is the most despicable, disgusting lie of them all. I don't respect. Now, why didn't Dana Bash question him on that when he said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured, Mr. Vance? Is that honoring our veterans? The suckers and losers comment. Is that honoring our veterans and then saying he didn't lie? Then why is it that the doctor, you stupid fool, why don't you just tell people who you really are? Come out of the closet already, you stupid fool. Why is it that the doctor who wrote the Bone Spurs note, who has since passed away, by the way, his entire family has said that that was a made-up lie as a favor to Donald Trump because he dodged the military. And J.D. Vance wants to look us all in the eye and wants to say that Donald Trump honors our veterans, that Donald Trump didn't lie about it. You have Waltz, who served for 24 years. He was talking about gun control because he actually cares about our kids being gunned down in schools, while Republicans have no answers other than more guns make us safer. And he misspoke because he was talking passionately about how he doesn't want the weapons of war that he knows how to use to be given out like candy to 18-year-olds. And J.D. Vance wants to lie to us and tell us that Donald Trump honors our veterans. It's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life, the biggest lie of them all, and J.D. Vance is an imbecile is what he is. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Lorraine. Lorraine is next up on PTL. Hi, Lorraine.
Hi, Brian. Thanks
Hey.
for taking my call.
Sure.
Hey, so the fact that you had Amy on brings a thought to my mind about our situation that will come up. Obviously, Donald Trump has said he won't accept any loss, and so have all kinds of Republicans. And is there something in place that we are doing to not allow the Electoral College to have fake electors again?
Yeah.
I've seen articles where people are taking over campaigns and just bulldozing people out of the way that are good people.
Yeah, it is a concern. It is a concern. Stephen Miller, by the way, who is one of the leaders of this fake electorate nonsense, that guy should go to jail. He's so disgusting. But, the bottom line here is that there are a lot of crazies out there, and it wouldn't surprise me if there were more fake electorate schemes. But here's where I think, as decent Americans, we have the upper hand because we're prepared for it now, right? We weren't really prepared for what happened in 2020. And even then, luckily, they weren't able to succeed, right? I think there's going to be
Right.
way too much media scrutiny and many eyes on this, and it's going to be almost virtually impossible for them to do the indefensible, which is put forth another fake electorate scheme. And the way these Republicans want to defend it is, well, we have a right to question things. Listen, they could make excuses until the cows come home. The bottom line is people like you and me are going to decide this election. And while I disagree with the Electoral College, I think it's a joke, rigged so that Republicans have a chance to win. I hate to use the term that Donald Trump uses, but in this one, I think it's fair. It's rigged so that Republicans have a chance because the overwhelming majority of people in this country do not vote Republican. Let's just call it for what it is. He lost the popular vote in 2016. He lost the popular vote terribly in 2020. He's going to lose the popular vote in November, and let's hope he doesn't get back into the White House. But that's certainly something, Lorraine, that I'm going to monitor and hold people accountable. We had it right here in Nevada with Michael McDonald, as I'd like to call him, Ronald McDonald, and his cronies, who did put forth a fake electorate scheme. They absolutely did, and that case is going to be refiled. And mark my words, eyes are going to be on them. People like the Mike McDonalds of the world, and they're not going to be able to do it this time around. I don't believe they are.
That's good. I'm positive to hear that from you because I'm from Arizona.
Oh, Jesus.
And it just worries the heck out of me that there's so many people willing to go to jail for Trump.
Yeah. Hey, can I ask you about
just amazing.
Can I ask you about Arizona? I heard that Carrie Lake the other day, she tried to do some sort of rally get together with Democrats for Carrie Lake, and I heard there were like 12 people there. Is that true?
That's what I read too, and it's probably accurate. I don't think she's very well received anywhere.
Oh, she's the worst. She is the worst.
People are sick of her, like most Americans are sick of Trump. We are sick of the divisiveness and the negativity, and she's just off her rocker, really.
She is, but you know
and
what?
I do want to say,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say one other comment I wanted to make to the caller before about the military being for Trump.
Yeah.
I have a lot of family in military as well, and my understanding is their TVs are never on anything but Fox News.
They're brainwashed.
And they're brainwashed.
These people are
and
brainwashed.
It is a cult.
It is absolutely a cult. You go to these rallies. That's why I call it a clan cult. But you're absolutely right, my dear. And I appreciate you calling in. Say hello to Mark Kelly for me. I love that man. Thank you so much for calling in. What a fundamental difference, and how nice it was to be a part of an experience over the weekend and 16,000 people that were good, decent human beings. They were normal people. They weren't weird. They didn't show up with their Let's Go Brandon shirts or F Donald Trump shirts or whatever. There was no bigotry or hatred. Everybody was welcome. People were having a good time dancing to the music. Good music, by the way, not trash like Kid Rock or Ted Nugent. By the way, what a big get that Newsmax has tonight. They have Ted Nugent coming on. What a great get. That trailer trash punk. There were a group of people that were decent human beings that were joyful. And I pointed that out, and I took a short 10 to 15 second video of people just with their Harris signs, smiling together. It was like a family atmosphere there. And that's why it got 1.6 million views, because people see what's going on in this country. And I'm showing it. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Vivian, who's next up on PTL. What's up, Vivian?
Hi, Brian. How you doing today?
Hey, good. What's on your mind today?
I'm so glad that you enjoyed yourself because I was like anxiously waiting to see what happened.
Yeah.
What you had to say. So, I'm like two things I want to say. The first thing is that I really am hoping and praying that we win, Democrats win in reference to the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Because I think that's the only way we're going to get us back on track.
Yeah. Yeah.
The second thing.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The second thing I want to say is that once we do that and we can get everybody on the same page, maybe this brainwashing will go away with these people and we can get back our relatives, our friends, and our neighbors because it's been really hard on all of us.
Yeah, Donald Trump's done a lot of damage to this country, Vivian, and thank you for your comments and your call. Trump has done a lot of damage to this country. We are more divided than we've been in my lifetime politically and racially, and I put a lot of that on Donald Trump. His divisiveness, he's done a lot of damage. It's going to take some years to get us back to where we left off. But I will say this. If, in fact, Harris does win, and I'm hopeful she will, I believe this will be the end of MAGAville. I believe this will be the end. And if people want to say on the far right that Harris is not qualified, then why is Matt Gaetz qualified to be a congressman? Why are these senators qualified? Why would Lauren Boebert be qualified when she doesn't even have a college education and she got her GED just so that she could run for office? There are tons of Republicans that are unqualified, including Donald Trump. And when Hillary Clinton called him an illegitimate president, Republicans want to lie and say, oh, well, she questioned the election. No, she didn't. She called him illegitimate. And the reason why she called him illegitimate is because of his behavior, the things he says, and the things he does. And now he's a 34-count felon. If you want to use the term illegitimate, I don't want felons running for president of the United States. I don't want felons, 34 counts, as elected officials. I don't want liable rapists running for office. Call me crazy. Go ahead. You want to call me a libtard because I don't want a rapist becoming our next president of the United States? You go right ahead. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Do we have Paul next? Let's go to Paul next on PTL. Hi, Paul. What's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing, man? I'm glad you had a fun time at the rally.
I did.
Hey, I always think about the whole thing with the Orange Messiah guy. I still don't know if it was him, and maybe you can give me your insight. Or was he exposing the people for who they really were? And, I heard a quote the other day, and you would appreciate this. It was a black guy on the news, and he said, what was interesting was before Donald Trump, the people that were racist and white supremacists had hoods on and put masks on. But when Trump became president, they had no problem walking around in public without a mask on anymore. I thought that was very interesting. So I wonder if he just exposed them for what they already were, and they were just hiding this whole time. What do you think about that thought?
That's certainly a possibility. There's no question about it. I think there's a lot of possibilities within the Republican Party today and the MAGA right and the hypocrisy when it comes to mask wearing, when it comes to COVID, when it comes to election integrity. I mean, there's hypocrisy across the board, Paul. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's how I feel.
I love the Republican Party. I grew up in a Baptist church, and I know I've told you this before. And I didn't watch a lot of news, and when I watched on Fox, I felt like they lied to me. To this day, I will never watch Fox because of the bullshit that they put on their news. They completely took away all of the awful stuff that he did, and they completely lied to voters about who he was and what he did, just because they wanted a Republican to win, and that's not what the news should be about.
And many of them still do it after 5 p.m. I mean, there are some that are coming around a little bit. Neil Cavuto does have some pushback. There are some, but, how could anybody take anything with credence of what a weasel like Jesse Waters says, or a Sean Hannity, or a Laura Ingraham? These are bad people. They're despicable people that intentionally lie. And even the Fox News executives said it themselves, that these people, it's about entertainment. They shouldn't be taken seriously, right? But yet there are so many, Ted Koppel did such a great interview, or I should say was interviewed by Sean Hannity back in the day. And Koppel said, listen, Sean, you're good at what you do, but you're very dangerous for this country. And he explained why.
Yeah.
And there are so many brainwashed people in this country that believe what Sean Hannity says. They believe what a Tucker Carlson or a Laura Ingraham says. And because they believe it, they get angry. It's a lot of hatred.
Right.
And it's funny because people will say, oh, Brian, you watch too much MSNBC or CNN. When the fact of the matter is, I form my own opinions, and I'll watch Fox News because I have to, and I'll watch CNN, and then I'll form my own opinions based on the information that we have. But these people, can you give me an example of how CNN was had to pay out $800 million for intentionally lying to America? I mean, these networks like OAN, Newsmax, and Fox News are so dangerous to this country. And I believe they radicalize people. I had to work with someone that was radicalized. I mean, they radicalize people.
Yeah. And and a lot of people I see on TikTok and social media are to the point, like, they have family members they can't talk to. And and I think that's a huge thing. And you'll probably agree with me. There's a difference between having a difference of opinion, like, hey, Brian, let's talk about taxes or taxing tips. That's a constructive conversation versus I'm going to support a racist, a rapist, a felon, a guy that stole from cancer charities. You're like, yeah, but we just have a difference of opinion. Can't we just come together? I mean, I don't know, Brian. I don't know if we can.
No, we can't. I've had enough. No, we can't.
I'm not gonna find common ground with someone. I just can't do it.
We can't. I've had enough. And I've had enough of people saying when they go low, we go high. No, I am not going to do that. And I have people, I post videos on social media, right? And I posted a video of a MAGA caller. Many of them are afraid to call in these days. I don't blame them because I destroy them every time. But, I put up a clip of, me attacking a MAGA caller because he was attacking Tim Waltz's service to this country. And on social media, 99% of the people enjoyed it. But then you had some people that say, oh, you were so mean. Why can't you have a constructive? I'm not going to have a constructive conversation with somebody that wants to attack somebody's military service and supports the draft dodger, Donald Trump. No, I'm not. I'm going to call them out for being what they are, which are deplorable human beings. We should respect everybody's service to this country. And it's a joke. Yes, at times people misspeak. The man has been in office for a while now. He was talking about gun control passionately. Okay, so because he said he was at war, and that one comment, which, by the way, the campaign has already retracted that comment and said that he misspoke, MAGA are going to hang their head on that. Yet Donald Trump is the guy that calls our brave men and women suckers and losers. He says, I don't respect John McCain because he was captured. He doesn't want to go to an event at Arlington Cemetery when he's staying at a luxurious hotel a couple miles down the road, and he didn't want to go because it was raining outside. The man who dodged the military, but yet we want to hear them talk about a comment that Waltz made. I mean, it's so above the pale. Keep supporting just support your rapist. That's what I tell them. I'm not going to debate you. Support him.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say is I grew up with a dad that was a bully and he was very abusive. And I'm going to tell you, these people are bullies. And for a long time, you and I love Michelle Obama, and I agree with you on this. When they go low, we go high. There's a point where you have to get into the mud and you have to throw mud in their eye.
Yes.
You just have to. And they're to the point where if you watch The Christmas Story and that kid picks on him and he punches him in the nose and he beats him and he never messes with them again. And that's where we are. Once Biden dropped out and people started speaking out and calling people out when they were always the squeaky wheel because we didn't want to deal with them, now they're like, oh, now they're pushing back. So now they don't know what to do. So there's going to be a little bit of a rough road between now and the election. I think you know that. So just buckle up because some of these nuts are going to get nuttier and nuttier and nuttier until it crashes and it hits the earth. It's unavoidable.
Just look at Donald Trump. I mean, look at his Truth Social today. The guy is losing it. He's so far gone.
He's done.
Thanks, Paul, for the phone call, my man. Good to hear from you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next on PTL. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Brian. This 8-year former military Army combat medic is a never Trumper. So there are military people out there who are against this fascist piece of garbage. Mm-hmm. There's two things I like to mention, but the last comment I want to mention is on Amy, your previous guest. But I'm more worried. The first comment I want to make is I'm not so much worried about these fake electors as I am about these people that are in polling sites that will not verify a vote count because Trump didn't win the district. That's what I'm more afraid of. And it's going to cause more mayhem. And who knows what's going to happen when all these votes are not going to be certified because Trump didn't win.
Yeah.
Now, my second comment on Amy. Mm-hmm. Amy states that she wants to know what the policies are. Well, Amy, you know, and I hope you're listening, you know what Trump's policies are. Did you not read Project 2025? And then you come on this show and say, well, I really can't vote for Kamala Harris because I need to know what her policies are. We know most of what her policies are. And how can you stand with a guy who's a known rapist?
She's not.
But she can't vote. But she can't do everything possible to keep Trump out of office by voting for Kamala.
Okay, so so let me say this in her defense. First of all, this was somebody who was an extremely staunch Donald Trump supporter. This is somebody who is a staunch Republican. And she did something that I think is courageous in that she decided to get out of that world and pretty much end her political career to call out Donald Trump for who he is. Now, I understand in a perfect world we would love people like Amy to vote for Kamala Harris, but it is still a win for and she still very well might. She didn't say she wouldn't, by the way. She did say she wouldn't vote for Donald Trump, which I respect a great deal. But it is still a win for the Democrat Party when you have a former chair of the Republican Party saying they will not vote for Donald Trump. That is a win. Now, when she talks about policy, this is very difficult for some Republicans because there's a lot of Republicans out there that are anti-abortion. There's a lot of Republicans out there that believe in tax breaks for the rich. There's a lot of Republicans out there that disagree with a lot of the policies put forth by Joe Biden and his administration. Right or wrong, when you're a staunch Republican, it takes some courage to step up and say, I am not supporting Donald Trump. That's what Amy Tarkanian, I am not going to criticize her for that.
Amy climbed out of the rabbit hole, all right? Do we stand up and applaud her for finally seeing the light? Well, no, because what drove her into that dark spectrum in the first place?
Well, she was the
How
chair.
did she get conned?
She was
she
the
got
chair.
conned, or
No.
she was the chair, right?
Right. She was the chair, and she needed
And she didn't see through Trump into January 6th?
Well,
I don't buy it.
Well, I think January 6th was a tipping point for a lot of people. That was the end of the road for a lot of Republicans.
Nothing he did prior to it, right? Ripping babies out of the arms of parents at the border,
I think
putting them in cages.
But again, listen, I hear what you're saying, Mark, but here's where maybe we disagree. We need to focus on right now. And if you have Republicans right now, the Jeff Duncans of the world, the Adam Kinzingers, those kinds of Mitt Romneys, even a guy like Chris Christie, in 2024, if you are willing to say, not only am I not going to support Donald Trump, but I'm going to call out his rhetoric. Listen, I can't stand Mike Pence. I don't think the man has a courageous bone in his body. However,
he talks out of both sides of his mouth.
I agree. But at a minimum, at least let's say it's a good thing that he's not endorsing Donald Trump. And we have to take a win where, we're not going to get all these Republicans to vote for Harris. But if they're publicly able to say that they are not supporting Donald Trump, that's a win. That's a win.
But you know my problem, Brian? I get your point. I get it I get it 100%. But my big problem is you don't want to see Trump in office. You must have read Project 2025.
I did.
You must know he wants to do. Not you, Amy, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You must know what Trump wants to do to our country.
She knows.
But yet you're not going to do everything you can to keep Trump out of office.
Well,
That's
listen,
my problem.
I get it. And there are two choices. It's either Harris or Trump. There is no in between.
Right,
Robert F.
right,
Kennedy Jr.
exactly.
ain't getting enough votes. And I understand where you're going with that, Mark. In a perfect world, we would like those moderate Republicans to vote for Harris. But I'm going to tell you something. The moderates in this country that do not vote for Donald Trump are a win for Democrats. And that's why I believe Harris is going to win, because there are a lot of Amy Tarkanians out there that are not speaking publicly like she is that will not be voting for Donald Trump. And by the way, I am still working on Amy Tarkanian, and I think there's still some hope that she might vote on the Harris Waltz ticket. We'll have to wait and see. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Mary. Mary's next up on PTL. Hi, Mary.
Hi. I'm calling in today. I've been following your show, and I'm very pleased to hear common sense for a change. I live on the boundary of Illinois and Indiana, and I've been a healthcare professional for 40 years, a nurse. I went, not that it's relevant, but I actually live in fear where I'm at because it's like Trump Nation. And these people, you cannot reason. They don't have critical thinking. I went to the Wisconsin State Fair over the weekend, spent the night, and I was watching the news, and then a commercial comes up with a nurse, which I can't even believe a nurse would do this. And she's telling people of Wisconsin how they can't even get hospital care because our hospitals are overrun with immigrants. All the beds are filled. And what a horrible thing we've done. Oh, my God. Getting through a pandemic was one nightmare with people spitting on you and treating you like garbage and then being swamped.
She's lying.
And then, definitely. I mean, Wisconsin.
Yeah, she's
and then
lying.
to see
Isn't
this
it
on the news.
Isn't it
horrible.
interesting, Mary, that same nurse didn't speak out when all the anti-vaxxers out there, right? All the MAGA moron, and by the way, Trump was the guy that, Operation Warp Speed, but all these right-wing turds out there that spreaded medical misinformation that still do to this day. And so many of those that were in those hospitals that were not vaccinated, overrunning our ERs and our hospital beds so people couldn't even get surgeries or cancer treatment because there were so many morons in the hospital that refused to take the vaccinations, right? But
and
nurses,
they were filling the ERs.
this is
filling
everything,
the ERs up.
Everything you need to know about the far MAGA right is that they take every opportunity they can to attack people that don't look like them, that are brown people, but yet the uneducated, ignorant white people throughout this country that listened to medical misinformation about how the jab had some sort of, the government put the jab. So they had like, what was that? I'm trying to think of the conspiracy theory that they put together where like it had some sort of thing they injected inside of your body, knowing where you are at all times.
A microchip.
Yeah, there you go. That's
like a basic,
there
like
you
a
go.
dog track.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you. A microchip. And yet these same stupid MAGA Republicans are the ones that sadly went into the ER, and so many of them died because they weren't vaccinated. But this nurse wants to put out a commercial saying, oh, no, let's not worry about that now. Those people are patriots. Let's talk about all the migrants that are filling our hospital beds, which is, by the way, it's a lie. That's not true.
Well, it is. And globally, we're past 7 million deaths. COVID will now be here forever and continue to mutate. But people don't realize, don't forget just about the deaths. There's like over 700 million people who are infected, and many are suffering from long COVID. And people think, oh, it's the flu. A novel virus means we really don't know. And the Spanish flu, as they called it, not that we know its true origin, the first pandemic this country experienced was before we had rapid transport, airlines, cruise ships, floating petri dishes. But these people will come in, and you have elderly people who just fell and broke a hip, who could be hemorrhaging internally.
You're absolutely right.
They're putting they're putting this news on the TV, and I'm thinking to myself, how many uneducated, frightened elderly people are not seeking care in Wisconsin because they think if they go to the hospital, there's no one there to take care of them.
Let me tell you, you're so right, and great phone call. These MAGA Republicans have blood on their hands, and they always have. Our innocent children being shot down in schools, gun violence at an all-time high, and Republicans care more about their A-plus rating from the NRA than public safety. And then after a tragedy happens in their town, they say now's not the time to talk about gun control. Governor Abhole, who, by the way, is one of the most despicable people on the planet. Yes, Greg Abbott in Texas is one of the most despicable ones, and he represents a lot of other Republicans like that, the Ted Cruz's of the world and others. And when it comes to COVID, it's the exact same thing. They knew that the vaccines were overwhelmingly effective and overwhelmingly doing a good job in saving lives. But they listened to the Alex Jones, the far-right wackos, putting out medical misinformation, and because of that, so many innocent people died. These people are brainwashed, and this is what happens when you watch Newsmax and OAN and Fox News 24/7. You become brainwashed. You become angry. You become angry at brown people. You keep hearing "Make America Great Again," and we all know what that means. It means "Make America White Again." 702-221-7283. Let's go to Linda. Linda is next up on PTL. Hi, Linda.
Hi, how you doing?
Hey, good. What's on your mind today?
Yes, I'm from Mississippi, and I wish that our state would turn blue. I don't get it.
I wish too.
They see what they see what's going on. They see the lies that is being put out there, but all they are interested in money and power. We need to change that in November.
I hope so. And I am feeling far more confident now than I was a month ago. I think there's a lot more, and thank you. I think there's a lot more. Linda, if you're still there, there's a lot more there's a lot more that needs to happen here in the next couple months.
Yes.
But I will say that the debate on September 10th is going to be a very important day. And I'm not even sure it's more important for Harris as it is for Trump, because Trump now is the one that's trailing. Trump is the one that has, and I don't think he's capable of it. I think Kamala just needs to be that prosecutor. Kamala needs to be that prosecutor, be ready to fight. You know what he's going to do with the personal attacks. He's going to call her the border czar. Everything that Donald Trump throws at her, she can defend. You call her the border czar. Talk about the bipartisan bill that was struck down because of MAGA Republicans. If you're really serious about the border, then why would you strike that down? But there's a lot of time between now and then.
I understand. They let Trump. They had that bill, but Trump just came on in and told the MAGA Republicans not to vote for it because he needed that to run to get him in the president.
Well, it's simple, right?
That's crazy.
You're
And I can't wait till they come off of vacation.
I agree, and you're absolutely right, and thank you for the call, dear. I appreciate it. Listen, these MAGA Republicans are not serious about dealing with issues. They're not serious about dealing with the border. They're not serious about dealing with all the gun violence in this country. They're not. If they were serious about fixing the problems that this country is actually facing, then they would have passed that border bill, and we would have comprehensive gun reform. They're not. They just attack Harris, and they talk about the border to try to score political points. Perezzo, I believe, is next on PTL. Hi, Perezzo. Thank you for calling in. Perezzo? What?
Yes.
Hi. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Well,
turn down your
Hi, Brian.
Hi, turn down your radio if you can, because there's a little bit of a delay there, and it'll mix you up. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. Yes. Thank you.
Go ahead and walk into another room, or
Okay.
so that we.
There
okay.
it is.
Yes, there we go. Okay.
You got it?
Yep, we're ready. Go right ahead.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Hi, Brian.
Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Well, I have been really very interested with this election this year.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, in 2016, I think we have been complacent. We have been too complacent in 2016.
Sure.
And this time, I think we really need to defeat Trump. I saw all those rallies. I watched all those rallies from Philadelphia to Las Vegas this past week.
Yep.
And I just hope that people who have been in those rallies will go out to vote.
I think they will. I was very inspired
Yeah.
over the weekend. I went to the rally in Las Vegas, and I was very inspired.
Mhm.
A lot of just real. It was so nice to be around a bunch of normal people. Like,
Yes,
these are just normal, everyday people, middle class people that you just want to enjoy family life, and the bigotry and the hatred did not exist there. People were having a good time. And it was just people wanted to support Harris. I think some people were there because they just hate Trump so much, and they're so
Oh
sick.
my God!
They're
you
so
won't
Yeah.
you won't believe how much I hate him to this day.
You might
because of of all this bigotry, the racism, the whatever, disparaging all these candidates.
Can I ask you, where are you from?
You know,
Where are you originally from?
I'm from the Philippines.
You're from the Philippines. Okay,
And
so let
I
me.
came into this country
Good
since
for you.
1970, and I was given a good chance at life here in America, and I love this country.
Good for you. What did you make it when Donald Trump attacked the squad a few years back, and he said, "Go to your s-hole countries"? What did you make of that?
Oh my God, he is an asshole. I'm sorry to say that. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that
That's okay.
on live chat.
You are correct, and I want to hear more from people like you. Thank God there are people in this country like you from the Philippines. I love my Filipino people. Manny Pacquiao, my favorite boxer of all time, by the way. That's what makes America great. That's how we make America great. People like you. People coming into this country and succeeding and making something of themselves. But mark my words, when Donald Trump and his crony supporters, and many of them racist supporters, say make America great again, it's because they don't want people like you in this country. They want people that look like them. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Joseph, who's next up on PTL. Hi, Joseph.
Yeah, hey, Brian. Okay, here's my piece. Now, the one thing let's see, I don't care what Trump's, like I said, I don't care what Trump says about the crowds. I see Kamala Harris at her rallies. I see the crowds a lot more energetic, more than those Trump rallies are. And also, I don't care what JD Vance will say about stolen valor. I find that disgraceful. At least Tim Walz is more patriotic and he's more heroic, even more so than him.
Yeah.
I bet the only thing that JD Vance is doing it for his country is he's probably serving his country for a sofa so he could be like, like how Dave Chappelle, when he did that Rick James sketch when he had to lie down on his couch with the dirty boots.
Yeah.
That's what I would think of J.D. Vance.
Yeah. Speaking of boots, what about Ron DeSantis? But no, it is interesting, right? Because, we're learning more and more about J.D. Vance every day, and we're learning that. And again, I don't know if this is true or not. Here's what we do know. We know that J.D. Vance, he's got all these drag pictures that have now come out. I don't know if you've seen those pictures. And it seems It seems like the staunch Republicans out there that are so anti-gay marriage are usually ones that are gay themselves. Now, I don't care whether J.D. Vance is gay or not. I don't care whether anybody's gay or not. I could care less. But I do find it very hypocritical that those are the ones that are the strongest against gay marriage, like the Lindsey Grahams of the world, are probably those that are gay themselves. These are those on the evangelical right, the Republican Party. And, again, we need to call them out. Keep going after stolen valor. Keep going after Waltz's military record. Keep saying that Kamala is not black. I want them to keep doing it. I want J.D. Vance to keep going after women. Keep going after people in this country that don't have kids because they are trying to lose, and I hope they do. Keep up with the personal attacks, and as members of the media, we need to keep bringing it up and keep asking them about it because they're the ones that brought it up first.
I know. I say the same thing. I mean, that's all they do. They're nothing more but misogynist incels. Even though as for his son Barron,
yeah,
I agree with that. I agree with that question you were asking. Like, what was he going to be when he grows up?
Yeah,
I hope he better not be growing up like his father Trump.
It'll be hard not to.
The one thing I wish that Melania should have done is take her son Barron away from him and try to find some environment, which is impossible because there are Trump Republicans out there.
Yeah.
And also, that's another lesson I'm learning about if I was ever a parent and if I was ever a rich man, I would never speak in bad language right in front of my own kids.
I agree. And it's a really good point you bring up, Mark. And you're 100%, or I'm sorry, Joseph, you're 100% correct. And that video needs to be circulated everywhere and everybody needs to see it. So J.D. Vance held a presser, by the way, speaking of J.D. Vance, who I think has hurt the Donald Trump campaign. And it's interesting because he was asked in a press conference about the attacks on Harris, her lack of blackness. Meanwhile, this is a guy that's changed his name like 40 times. Have a listen to this.
Donald Trump said something very simple, totally inoffensive, but frankly, obviously true to me, which is that Kamala Harris is a chameleon. She's a fake, and the American people have to look at her record if we actually want to know how she stands on the issues, because her words simply can't be trusted. Sir.
How can you fake your race? If
I'm sorry?
you're both Indian and black, how can she fake her race?
She fakes who she is depending on the audience that she's in front of, and that's who she is, and that's who she's always been.
Complete and total lie. That's not true. She's proud of who she is. And if there's anybody that's fake, it's the guy that you work for and yourself. You mentioned that your boss is the next American Adolf Hitler. Oh, I had an epiphany. He was a great president. Give me a frickin' break, you stupid liar. Give me a break. And then the attacks on, well, Harris didn't pick Shapiro because he's Jewish and she must be anti-Semitic. Have a listen to this.
You have repeatedly suggested that the only reason Kamala Harris didn't pick Josh Shapiro to be her running mate is because of his Jewish faith. Do you have any evidence to support that assertion that a person who's married to a Jewish man is somehow anti-Semitic or bowing to anti-Semites?
Well, I reject the premise of the question. I did not say that was the only reason that Kamala Harris didn't choose Josh Shapiro. So you should, take a little less DNC talking points when you ask your questions and ask a real question.
No, that is a real question. Even if that was true, and you had plenty of other reasons, you're still claiming that Harris didn't pick Shapiro because he's Jewish. The question still stands, and J.D. Vance is incapable of answering it because the answer would be no, I don't have any direct evidence that Harris didn't pick Shapiro because he was Jewish. The answer is no. But notice how he doesn't answer the question, which is a very fair one, by the way. And Vance and Trump have said it over and over again that the reason why Harris didn't pick Shapiro is because he's Jewish, somehow anti-Semitism. And how does J.D. Vance answer that question? I reject the premise of the question. That's a DNC question because I didn't say it was the only reason. Okay, so what? Let's phrase the question like this. I know you've given a lot of reasons, Mr. Vance, on why you believe Harris didn't pick Shapiro, but one of those reasons that you suggested was that Harris didn't pick Shapiro because he's Jewish. Do you have any direct evidence? when you put forth that claim? It's the same question. The question wasn't, do you have other reasons, or is this the only reason? That wasn't the question. The question was, do you have any direct evidence? Of course he doesn't. That's how these Republicans fail to answer these questions. They spin. J.D. Vance is spinning. By the way, that's not a DNC question. It's a logical question because you guys are morons. And I got to tell you something. This guy Waltz, even though I would have preferred Shapiro, this guy Waltz seems like a pretty darn good guy and a great candidate. His sense of humor, he's off the cuff. He resonates with people. He's just a good dude and a good governor. Guy that you want to sit down and have a beer with. Former football coach, former teacher. Yes, served 24 years. It's about 20 years more than J.D. Vance served. And this is the part of the press conference that is so humiliating to J.D. Vance, if he hasn't already been humiliated time and time again, rightfully so. So this is the part of the press conference. And if you remember Donald Trump in Chicago last week, he was asked about the vice presidential pick in J.D. Vance. Do you think J.D. Vance will be ready on day one? And Donald Trump's response was basically, well, the vice presidency really doesn't have any bearing on who wins the president of the United States. And J.D. Vance is asked about that, and listen to his pathetic dweeb of an answer.
When Trump was at the NABJ conference, he was asked whether you'd be ready to assume the presidency on day one. And he responded by talking about how the vice president pick doesn't really impact the election outcome.
Sure.
Was that the response that you were hoping for from the former president?
Well, what the president has said, and I agree with him, is that most people are voting at the top of the ticket.
So basically what I'm saying is that I really don't matter. This guy has no dignity, no self-worth. You have your boss who's basically saying you don't matter. And by the way, I would disagree with the president, former president, excuse me. J.D. Vance does matter because he's hurting the Trump campaign. If anything, he's hurting Donald Trump. So I think his pick does matter. And instead of J.D. Vance doing what any man would do, anybody owning up with some self-worth would be like, well, I disagree with those comments. I think, what I say does matter in backing Trump. And he just kind of agrees with Donald Trump and crumbles into that little pretzel that he is. So really pathetic. J.D. Vance is a pathetic pick. He's a pathetic human being. And he has no self-worth. And it's really sad. And I don't know if you've heard this story because I wanted to talk about this in the few minutes we have left. So the family of Isaac Hayes is now suing Donald Trump and his campaign for 134 counts of copyright infringement for the unauthorized use of the song Hold On, I'm Coming at campaign rallies from 2022 to 2024. In a letter, they demand Trump stop using the song and pay $3 million in licensing fees by August 16th, 2024. They say failure to comply would result in further legal action. And this comes as, Donald Trump played My Heart Will Go On, the Titanic song, Celine Dion's management team, and a record label, Sony Music Entertainment Canada Incorporated, Celine Dion says, became aware of the unauthorized usage of the video, recording, musical performance, and likeness of Celine Dion singing My Heart Will Go On at a Donald Trump J.D. Vance campaign rally in Montana. In no way is this use authorized, and Celine Dion does not endorse this or any similar use. And really, that song, that's what Celine Dion wrote. Other musicians that have either threatened to sue or have sued Donald Trump is Adele, Aerosmith, the Beatles, Guns N' Roses, Johnny Marr, Leonard Cohen, the great Linkin Park Band, the late great Prince, Queen, REM, Rihanna, the Rolling Stones, Sinead O'Connor, Tom Petty. The list goes on and on and on. It's funny. Joe Biden doesn't have a list like that when he ran. Kamala Harris doesn't have a list like that. Why is that? Because more and more people are tired of Donald Trump's BS. They're tired of it, and they don't want anything associated with this rapist. And quite frankly, I don't blame them because neither would I. All right, I want to thank the people that, besides, of course, Amy Tarkanian for joining us earlier in the program. I want to thank Jackson's Bar and Grill, the official gaming bar of Pushing the Limits. Check them out at Flamingo and Jones. Great promotions, including this month. If anybody hits a jackpot, you get $20 in free slot play within 24 hours. I also want to mention this because we are a independently owned radio show. And boy, I met so many wonderful listeners. I am so grateful and so humbled. I had so many people coming up to me saying, hey, we love your show. We listen every day, and that means the world to me. It really does. I love meeting some of the listeners and just such great people, and I appreciate all of you so much. So we are an independently owned radio show. It costs money to put a show together every day, right? So here's what we ask you do if you'd like to be a part of what we do, more than just listening to the show, which we appreciate very much. But if you'd like to contribute, check out the website. It's a new website. It's only been up a couple months. We got over 1 million people that have checked out the site. It's pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. You go on that website. You can sign up for the free newsletter and learn more about me, learn more about the show. You can also buy merchandise. We got some cool things. We got these Pushing the Limits mugs, which I think are super cool and awesome. Water bottles and shirts and hats and all sorts of cool stuff at affordable prices. If you don't want to buy merchandise, that's totally cool. We have a donate button right on the front of the page. There's a button there. It takes like 2 minutes where you go on there. You can do something monthly or just a one-time donation. We don't care what it is. It's whatever you can afford. We appreciate anything. $5, $10, $20, whatever you can afford helps us keep doing what we do. And we really do appreciate your support. Really do. Thank you in advance. And you'll hear from me personally with a donation. I got to tell you, I was really, I really felt good about the rally I went to over the weekend. I really did. Really feeling positive about it. Congratulations to the men's and women's basketball teams in the Olympics. Steph Curry has to be in the conversation now as one of the best guards of all time. Certainly the best shooter of all time. He took over late in the game again so that the U.S. won the gold. Without Steph Curry, they might not even win the bronze. I mean, it's getting competitive in the Olympics. And congratulations to the USA men's basketball team in another phenomenal finish. And the women's Olympic team as well, the women's soccer team. There's so many great personal stories to talk about, and I'll probably get more. Maybe we'll get into more Olympics talk tomorrow. But I love the Olympics. I love watching the Summer and Winter Olympics. Get to watch sports on television that you would normally never watch. I enjoy watching the table tennis, and there's so many cool sports, right, to watch. And enjoyed watching the golf. But the basketball is where my heart's at, and that was a lot of fun to watch. And I'm going to miss the Olympic Games, but it was a lot of fun. I think Paris did a phenomenal job, great hosting, and now we're going to have to wait 4 years, and it's going to come to LA, and I will be there. I will be watching the Olympics in person, my first Olympics in LA, and I will be there in 4 years. So that is also going to be a lot of fun. All right, thanks everybody for watching. Please check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website, pushingthelimits.live, where you can donate and buy merchandise. And tomorrow, well, we've got some very, very special guests lined up, and we're working on getting the former governor of the great state of Nevada, Steve Sisolak, to join us because he was at the rally over the weekend. So hopefully we'll get his take tomorrow, and many more special guests planned throughout the remainder of the week. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Appreciate all of you very much, and we will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well,